And welcome to the Reverie Esports Open. Actually, it's not the Open anymore, is it? We're doing a new thing. Qualifier. The qualifier number
It's
2
the
for
Rift
the Rift
Cup.
Cup. That's right.
Yes.
Gotta get
I
used to that
think
change.
it's a much more grandiose name, that's for sure. And I appreciate that for one. But
Absolutely.
and this is the qualifier into the Rift Cup, which is the new name for our Sunday tournaments, which used to just be called the Sunday buy-in tournaments, rather boringly. But now they are the Rift Cup. And every week, or every month, pardon me, we're going to be holding qualifiers throughout the month, which lead up into the end-of-month Sunday tournament. So makes it a
Absolutely.
little bit more of a structured month-by-month sort of affair.
I like it a lot more. It gives more teams a little bit of opportunity to get into because it's still a buy-in. You can still buy into it, I think. No, that's not right. I need to check on that. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you've got to qualify.
You got to qualify.
You've got to
That's right.
qualify into it, if I recall. But speaking of teams, we've got two of those in front of us right now. Supernova Zero is going to be on the red side, facing off against Kinetic Esports on the
I think it's
blue. And
Kinesis.
Kinesis Esports? Oh, pardon me.
It's such an unusual name.
Yeah, no, Kinesis Esports. You're definitely right. And we've already got through the bans. So a good amount of a focus, it seems, towards jungle, with half the bans headed that way, and potentially the first pick as well. You still with me, Effect?
Sorry, just typing it in the chat to let everyone know because I finally got my mic working again.
Oh, that's nice.
So I'm not using the webcam mic, which picks up everything in the room. So
Well, that's an improvement.
absolutely.
I imagine we see a jungler locked in here. Maybe not the Lee Sin.
Support is safe. It's pretty typical. And Karma is
Yeah.
one of those supports.
It's a really safe pick, but they've already squeezed the jungle pool a lot. And I'm not actually familiar with these players too terribly much. I don't think we've seen either of these rosters yet here at Reverie. I've seen some of these players specifically. Yeah. Project Panda, Platypus, I recognize those names.
I've seen Ednog, Arrow, I am Faceless. Pretty positive I've seen all of those faces before. I've seen Faceless's face.
Pretty much just Supernova's roster here. Supernova as an organization is familiar to us here at Reverie, that's for sure. As Lee Sin will be traded back for that Karma, so some emphasis on the jungle there. And Ezreal, a rather safe early pick. I'm actually surprised they didn't go with a support pick here. The Nami would have made sense into the Karma, but they're looking to solidify a AD carry position while they've still got the early emphasis on the draft. We'll see what the answer is. I imagine
Marksman jungle would make sense.
Yeah.
So probably Caitlyn, and it's going to be an Olaf jungle, actually. Most likely.
Presumably, yeah. Could be top still. It's not unheard of.
It's definitely not, but we've only seen one player, I'm pretty certain, play Olaf top.
Yeah. Bloodbath.
Yeah.
Caitlyn, I think, is the safest pick here. You can go instead for a top laner if you want and just grab Nautilus. He's still pretty high priority. Lucian is strong and does well into Ezreal. Okay, we'll be Lucian. Not quite as safe in the lane, but still perfectly fine. Does well into Ezreal and recently got that buff that sort of smoothed out a lot of his animation times. So I'm excited to see it for sure.
That is true. We just recently hit a patch. I'm pretty positive. 7.7.
Yeah, especially on a guy named Bobby Big Plays. I'm excited to see a more fluid and dynamic AD carry than Caitlyn. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Bobby Big Plays. Big Plays by Bobby.
That's one of the better names. One of the better names I've seen recently. I don't know what the answering picks are here from Supernova. Support makes sense. I think the Nami is probably the best one, provided Faceless plays that.
Sense to me.
Yeah, and then you pick a tank top. You go for maybe the Nautilus if you want to just stick to the pure meta, though they've kind of deviated from that a little bit already. Shen is strong for sure. They could go for their mid if they wanted to really hold in the support, but yeah, it's going to be the Nami and the Shen
It just doesn't make sense to hold support when the other support's already been picked.
Yeah, by no means. This allows them to counterpick in the mid lane, which is the most popular lane to counterpick in. It's one of the easier ones to do that, and it's a very short lane, so you can get jungle assistance pretty easily. And Orianna is the safest pick to blind pick, I'd imagine.
Makes most sense. It's pretty consistent with what we see here. Whenever the last pick is mid, it's almost always an Orianna.
And actually, thinking about it a little more, I really like that Shen pick because one of his hardest counters in top lane, you don't see it too often anymore, but one of them is this Vladimir that's been banned out already. So that does make the Shen slightly better to pick, but there's still some carry bully laners that you can grab, and Rumble is one of them. So Beniona going to go into that, and a Orianna mid lane. This composition is actually really rock solid. They've got a great comp to speed an Olaf into a fight and then team fight around him. I really, really like it so far from Kinesis.
Absolutely. I have to see how tanky he does build the Olaf, because we've seen it before where Olaf, in the mid game, if he doesn't have the defenses, he just gets ultimate team fights. Faceless, you can't fool us.
Nope. They did change Aatrox recently, but he's not a mid laner by any means. Galio would be really weird. Really interesting, actually decently strong into a lot of matchups, but as a mid laner even, but would mean they'd have a very, very low damage composition. So Ari still makes them kind of low for consistent damage output, but gives them pick potential. And that might be the way they need to play this game because they're not going to be in a great spot to team fight here. Supernova Zero have a solid set of champions, but compositionally, I wouldn't say it's as cohesive as Kinesis. I don't think it's like miles behind them by any means, but they just don't look quite as pointed in what they want to accomplish. Whereas Kinesis very clearly are team fighting around Olaf, Rumble, and Orianna ultis.
Absolutely. They're gonna have to be really careful because they only have Shen for a tank, and if he doesn't get the gold he needs in top lane, because Rumble is a bit of a bully, could be in trouble for that durability in the mid and late game.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to come down to picks in the mid game for Supernova. They've got a composition that can handle that pretty well between Lee Sin and Arya alone. And if they can manage to find a good few picks here or there, get an early snowball going with some turret takes right there after, they can do quite well for themselves. As I said, they're not miles behind in the draft by any means, just slightly. We've still got the spectator delay to get through, though, so I'll toss it over to you, Effect.
Absolutely. So we are going to be moving into our little bit of a commercial break, and we'll be back as soon as we're in the game. So do not go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
It's never too late to admit when you're wrong. Turn a new leaf, see a new dawn. The time to decide has come and gone. Just give me a chance, we can carry on. I made my choice, these drums of your voice, they run through my head as I remember the day. Stay in this moment.
Okay, and we're back and on the rift. Just give me a moment. My mouse is decided that it wants to up my sensitivity by about a million.
And my client is actually not cooperating with me right now. I'm still looking at a loading screen, so you're going to have to go ahead and give them the benefit of the solo cast here effect while I try and get this working. Give me just a few minutes, guys.
Absolutely. So, both teams are off. Only Eggnog taking his time. And it looks like Supernova is going for a bit of possibly an invade or a counter invade. They're just waiting because they do not have Eggnog. Let's see if my mouse has calmed down. Nope. That is so weird. Why would it do that?
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Currently, Supernova is just going for that, as I mentioned, the kind of a counter invade, looking for anybody to invade. But...
And I seem to have loaded in. I'm 1 minute 3 seconds, 4 seconds on the clock.
Yep, 5, 6, 7.
All right, we are synced up and ready to go. Apologies for that. My client was not feeling his best, it seems. Anyways, seems to have worked out decently well. And yeah, nothing too terribly exciting happened in the first minute, so I don't feel like I missed much.
Nope. Both teams just doing the usual. Either they line up for the line of scrimmage, or they look for a pick.
Swim at your own risk.
Nice waiting. But both teams, no action. Looking like Bobby and Abraham maybe wanted to interrupt.
Yeah, and there's not really too much risk to this. So it's pretty much always the right call if you don't have to leash for your jungler as the duo lane to go up and try and aggressively invade onto the enemy jungler. You don't try and steal away the blue buff, you don't really commit too terribly hard, you just do a bit of damage and leave. And you end up leaving their jungler slightly lower health after they're clear, forcing a cooldown out of them that they wouldn't have wanted to use otherwise. Every small advantage counts, especially once you get up into higher level play. Oh, well, I can try and up my mic a little bit, but we've still got action potentially happening here. And the only thing that it does give away, just going back real quick to the two-man semi-invade on the blue buff, is where your jungler is starting. Because if you're doing that as a duo lane, it's very obvious to the enemy team that you're not leashing, and therefore your jungler likely isn't starting bottom side. And they actually, it seems, have taken that into account on Supernova, because Platypus dropped a ward near the enemy Raptor camp, if you look down at your minimap, that's going to track Olaf as he's just about to come to that side of the jungle. So they've done a really good job of keeping track of where this Olaf is.
Absolutely. Possibly a bit of a game on the top side.
Yeah, the director Cameron doesn't seem to want to head up there, though. So we've got action bottom side as well. The exhausting Bobby Big Place, who's down below 100 health now. I Am Face is going to keep the chase going. There's the heal and the shield. Flash forward from I Am Face, plus the ebb and flow not enough. Body block from Abraham. And Bobby Big Place just about makes it out.
Barely. Less than 100 health, so definitely very low. Getting caught by the exhaust. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, the ward hop over to Beniona. Trying to guarantee this as best as possible, but the stun, or pardon me, the taunt doesn't land, so Beniona's going to be able to kite this back and be just fine. As Abraham, down below 100 health himself, doesn't have the exhaust, doesn't have his AD carry to heal him, but he did have the flash. Olaf now coming in onto Project Panda, who doesn't have his own flash, and it's first blood to the jungler. Another axe lands. It may be second blood. He's got the ghost running, and another undertow. Plus that red buff guarantees this kill. No, Face Place is kiting into the bush. He's got a potion running. No, it was just a matter of time.
Absolutely. Doing his best to try and use those minions. Well, unfortunately for Project Panda, he'd used his...
Ooh.
Oh, hello.
He needs a bit of help from his team, but I don't think they can get there in time. He's going to flash into the bush. He does break vision. He's got about 100 health left to his name, but that's all you need. Now Bobby Big Plays back to the lane. He's looking for some big plays. Dodges away from the charm. Platypus now without any mana left is going to have to back away.
Lots of action. All of them. Trying to think of everything there. The first blood is going over to Olaf, playing Olaf.
And second blood.
And second blood.
So.
Just showing up just at the right time to see high to Project Panda after Panda used the Arcane Shift to move forward and try and get the kill on Abraham.
Yeah, really, really over-aggressive play from Supernova's bottom lane gets punished. And it's just heads up from Olaf. I like to see him down there at that Moment, good timing. Right place, right time. Half of being a jungler, really. Nog trading about evenly with Beniona, who, due to that earlier pressure from the Lee Sin, has the lane pushing against him, but here comes Olaf topside to fix that. As the Skirmisher Smite comes down, Nog really has to respect this Olaf right now. Very, very dangerous with those early 2 kills.
Absolutely.
Just some levels alone.
You use the gold to purchase some CDR boots and finish, not finish, but oh, I've forgotten the name of it now. It's the red Smite.
Skirmisher Smite, yeah.
That's it.
And there's an almost 2 level lead now for him, which is just kind of crazy when you're considering that he's up against a Lee Sin here, who should theoretically be a little bit stronger in the early game than an Olaf, but 2 kills can do a lot to tilt a matchup. There's the slow into Project Panda. Abraham looking for the snare. Bobby Big Place is going to get stunned, though, and Abraham takes a lot of damage during the course of that bubble. A little bit of a botched engage by Kinesis' duo lane.
Absolutely. Really well played by Faceless landing the bubble onto Bobby. Getting some additional poke as well.
Yeah, and neutralizing the real damage source in that 2v2. It's why one of the most basic things about being a support is that you want to focus the AD carry, because early on, they are the source of most of the damage. In fact, they're the source of most of the damage for pretty much the whole game. So landing a bubble in that 2v2, super duper important. Pretty basic, but still impressive and good nonetheless. Map is quieted down a little bit. The main advantage still only being in this jungle, though it is quite a severe one. And we'll have to see where the next bit of action is. Looking like it's going to be bottom lane, as we got roams from both Lee Sin and Ahri this way. And Kinesis is not moving backwards quickly enough. 2-man shield off the Empowered Inspire. Nice dodge from Abraham, but he's still going to go down. Thankfully, the bubble doesn't land on a Bobby Big Place, so he'll just about squeeze out. But it's a clean kill for Supernova.
Very nicely played. Unfortunately, Abraham, like he said, could not. He was dodging really well, but just too low.
Oh, no! Bobby came a little too close to that turret, and now Olaf might pay the price as well. He cannot be disabled, so they won't be able to chase him down, but a Rumble teleport in from the back. Arrow gets the benefit of a Shen shield. Beniona now charmed back under the turret, gets taunted as well, and that is Rumble doomed. He did manage to trade one back at the very least.
Really aggressive teleport. Very nice played by Ednog using the shield to basically prevent any additional damage.
They are racing against Hinwu here to get the first brick. I really don't think that Abraham's Karma can defend this. But it looks like a 4-man squad is slightly more powerful than a single Orianna. Still, though, a lot of damage onto this mid lane turret, so Hinwu might be able to equalize that turret disadvantage relatively soon, if not on this wave.
It's certainly very possible. Ednog's going to get snared up, but I don't think they have enough power to kill him.
Yeah, and chasing forward into that is super risky, because they have no idea how many people are still around from that 4-man push, so Kinesis is not willing to go any further than that. And now Dragon is on the table for these two teams. Let's see how much emphasis is placed on it. It is only a Cloud Drake, so I imagine outer turrets will be more important.
Actually, especially because for Kinesis, they almost have that mid lane very low. It's so close to being good.
Yeah, basically if Platypus roams again, the turret is likely forfeit, provided Hinwu is in lane. But, I mean, Platypus gets a lot of benefit from roaming. I mean, right there, he did get those 3 assists. He's now sitting, let's see, does he have a gold lead? He's got a slight gold lead of a few hundred. But a flash forward from Abraham, this is highly aggressive. They've got the flank from Beniona, too, but Ahri is not an easy one to lock down, especially when all you've got is a timed snare. And Platypus makes it out.
Quite easily. Of course, he is forced to use his ult, so it does give them a window where...
I mean, but it's traded for a flash. It's not really a favorable cooldown trade. I guess it is for Hinwu if you just consider the mid lane matchup, because he didn't have to burn anything.
It does give Hinwu a little bit of opportunity to possibly take Platypus 1-1. We'll have to see what happens.
Meanwhile, though, Ezreal and Nami have rotated topside a little bit more quickly than Lucian and Karma were able to. But Bobby Big Place is still here in time to catch the wave. And this is pretty standard stuff. Once the bottom lane turret goes down, you sort of just reverse the lanes up a bit so that you can get your AD carry knocking on another outer turret. This could be Hinwu down. Thankfully, there's no ulti on Platypus, or else this would have been basically a guaranteed kill. But still, a flash forward means he gets it.
Very nicely played. The kick not going quite in the direction they wanted, but Platypus is going to have no problem with pop the flash, land the charm, and secure the kill.
He could be in some real trouble here, though. Still doesn't have Spirit Rush. Of course, doesn't have Flash from earlier. And it's actually kind of unfortunate that Abraham is the one to claim that, but still the kill goes down. Kill is a kill. This Faceless might be able to chase Abraham away from the river now. Arrow is actually flanking around from behind, and Abraham finds himself caught between a rock and an enemy jungler.
That is going to be another kill to Supernova. They're still ahead. They have about 2k.
Yeah, Ezreal ulted to the mid lane to try and save this turret, but there was enough of a wave that Beniona is still able to finish what his Orianna started. And Project Panda and Faceless will continue the shove topside. Meanwhile, though, Shen getting some good farm bottom, and the lanes as well as the skirmishes are being played pretty well here by Supernova. I said I don't like their composition for teamfighting quite as much as I like Kinesis, but Kinesis do have to get to the team fights. They're not at huge risk just yet of being choked out of this game, but this is the beginning of that path. Got to start rectifying things. Olav going highly aggressive there, does get the exhaust down onto him, and just gets bursted by an unexpected Lee Sin from the bush. Abraham gets the benefit of a heal, but there's a flanking Ahri. Platypus does not land the charm, but he does land the rest of it. And damage was all he really needed. Death, after all, is the best CC.
Absolutely. Very nice play to be able to easily pick up Olaf. He went hard on Faceless, but the exhaust came down. And by the time he realized Arrow was behind him, he had no opportunity to get away.
And Supernova just a little bit more alert to that play. A page ahead in the playbook, it seems. And they're going to keep the shove going on to the secondary turret.
Most likely this will go down. They have more than enough damage.
There's a teleport flank, though. They've got to be careful of the Rumble ulti. They don't actually know that this is coming. They're going to split up a little bit going through the jungle. Basically just watch for this equalizer. It lands onto 3. That is beautiful from Beniona. Flash forward from Bobby Big Plays, and this is exactly what Kinesis need to come back into this one. It's not going to be easy to keep chasing these kills down. Another onto from Beniona, pardon me. Faceless will fall. It's a double kill to the Lucian, and there we go. I lied. It was easy.
Yes, very well played. It's a brilliant flank and the brilliant equalizer by Beniona. And it's easily going to even up the kills. They're still about 2k gold behind, but it's not quite as huge a deficit it was before. And it looks like they're going to focus on this top turret, get some turrets back, because they are behind at 2 right now on the turrets.
Yeah, and that's a really big deal. It's basically accounting for the entirety of the gold difference at the moment. And being able to bring this down, as well as getting a few kills, I think, on the Bobby Big Plays in particular in that fight, is huge for them. But Platypus looks like he's going to be able to snare another one, or maybe not. Karma's a fish out of water here, trying desperately to dodge away, and appropriately enough, it'll be a Nami. That squashes those dreams. Here comes away from the side. Hinwoo nicely dodges that, but Bobby Big Plays is cut off still by the tidal wave, and eventually will fall as Faceless claims another life. Ebb and flow. Too strong.
Very nicely played. Surprise plus out of nowhere, locks down Abraham, I believe, really hard. And gave bought enough time for the rest of Supernova to kind of show up.
Arrow pretty easily gets this 1v1. Beniona respecting him enough to flash over the wall. I think that's the right call there. Should have had a little bit better control of the river if you wanted to shove that lane up that far in the first place. Supernova are now going to take the final remaining outer turret.
This is going to give them another nice little spike of gold. Don't have Dragon.
Really aggressive attempted defense by Olaf. He does have to burn the Ragnarok, and now we've got Rumble getting shut down in the middle of the fight. Ednog will trade his life back for it, though, and it's another one onto the Ahri. So actually a good fight overall from Kinesis. The loss of the tower makes it roughly even in terms of gold. However, those few kills might mean they can make a push of their own off the back of it. We'll see.
Yeah, they still have Olaf as their front line. It might go for Reverie.
It's not really worth the risk. It's a pretty insignificant buff overall, and there's a very real risk that could be flanked on and murdered in the process of taking it down. So that's why you generally don't see teams going for it. It's just not worth the amount of danger, time, and effort that it represents as an objective.
We see Kinesis making return to the top side, finally try to take this turn down. It's about half right now.
Arrow might go for this 1v1 again with Beniona, but didn't realize Olaf was around the corner. Going to be able to easily hop his way out of there, though. Lee Sin, pretty hard one to pin down.
Darn Lee Sin and his ability to jump everywhere.
And we'll see what the next move is here for Supernova. They've got the prerogative at the moment. They've got the control of the game still. Their gold lead hasn't really shifted much. It's been 2 to 3K pretty much the whole time, which means that in effect it's kind of been shrinking because as the gold values get larger, the percentage that that gold lead represents gets smaller. But they still seem to have pretty damn good vision control, particularly on the bottom side. And that's why they're looking to make some plays down here. We see them going aggressively even further for more vision.
Absolutely. You see, Olaf's actually getting kind of durable. He's working on that black cleaver, so he has a nice large health pool. Especially since they did change the build path a little bit.
Project Panda potentially getting flanked on here. Bobby Big Plays doesn't have the ability to lock him down at all. Just going for some vision control of his own. And now it's just kind of sends Shen to a lane, let him split up and get as much pressure as he possibly can while the 4-man squad does work somewhere else on the map. It doesn't even really matter that much where. At the moment, mid lane seems like a decent prospect as they have grouped up here, but once they get Shen back into a side lane, they can just split potentially on the other side of the map, look aggressively for vision control, and as I said, come into the mid game, look for those picks that I talked about in the draft. They've got Shen, Lee Sin, and Ahri, all of whom potentially can pick someone out of the Fog of War.
Absolutely. Seeing Gadnog kind of splitting his build path a bit. He has the Tiamat, he has the Spectral Cow, and he has the Mammoth Cinder. So it's kind of all over the place, but it does give him a way to imagine his first action is going to be the Spirit Visage to help him deal with Benny
Charm sidestep by Olaf. Platypus is going to have to burn the ulti defensively. That's actually really good for Kinesis. At the moment, what they're weakest to is in Ahri popping out a Fog of War and charming somebody into their team. So without Spirit Rush, that's much, much less of a dangerous possibility.
Absolutely. Just have to wait,
or just Flash is good enough. Good lord, him was gone.
I was about one of the two things I was going to mention is either they had to have a flash or wait for them to walk down the bush for Platypus City.
Or base in the wrong spot. That works too. That seems to be a pattern with Platypus. He burns the ulti defensively, getting away from something, and then manages to get a charm anyway. So maybe that's just a prerequisite. Good double bubble into Olaf. Project Panda's the focus. He's a little bit too far up in this team fight, so he does burn away about half of his health, but he's able to kite back some. Arrow is the sacrificial lamb on the altar, but no, he flashes back. Bobby Big Plays gets exhausted as he comes in. He finally finishes off one kill into Platypus, but is at such a price. 2-for-1 trade to Kinesis in a team fight that just looked so rough.
Absolutely. That was a 4v5, by the way, and they came out ahead.
Project Panda shifting over the wall. He gets the killing spree. But my god, that was aggressive. Just disgustingly so. Shifted right into the face of a Rumble.
Got the kill, but they're going to lose the tower as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could have defended that outer turret. But he doesn't need to trade 1-for-1 there. You don't want to trade 1-for-1 when you're the one ahead. You want to keep snowballing further and further advantages. You want to grow the gold lead. You don't want to leave it stagnant. And trading 1-for-1 basically leaves it stagnant. Gives the enemies a little bit more time to itemize. So that's okay. They certainly haven't lost the game yet, but it's no longer really decidedly in their hands. And not just because of that one kill. It's just kind of a symptom, really. As a dash forward from Arrow, he manages to land the E, but the Q and follow-up there for both whiff. Henwo still gets tossed back, though, and in the 2v1, he will not make it out alive. Bobby Big Plays now shoving up the bottom lane, and Supernova have a man advantage on the board.
Keeping up their lead just barely. They managed, they're really keeping that top turret alive, too. It's just barely alive at this point.
Shift forward from Project Panda, who's played a very, very bloodthirsty Ezreal this game. Good charm onto Abraham. Platypus still dashing around this fight. Equalizer comes down, but this is a bit too late to fight, I think, for Kinesis. But no, they've got Olaf coming in from the side. Face is incredibly low, but Arrow is the target. They want to keep Benihona alive. And Olaf can probably still hunt this sushi down for dinner. There's the axe landing, and some lightning from the sky.
The bubble does come down in time, but unfortunately the axe was already in motion, and it quickly chopped up Nami for food.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think Olaf might have still gotten that kill, even if the lightning hadn't been cast already. because he could have just tossed another axe. And Olaf has been dang accurate with those. The bright spot for his team, honestly. This performance on Olaf by Olav has been pretty damn solid this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make it through to the finals to see Olav get banned out against this player.
Absolutely. It's one of those characters where it's really hit and miss on performance. Sometimes they do amazing, and sometimes they're just not doing so good. So far, Olaf has performed very well.
I mean, it's because he's relatively binary as a champion. You know, he's not exactly highly complex in terms of mechanical design, and so he's either tanky enough and high damage enough to run to your back lines and be a threat, or he's not, and there's not really much middle ground. That's the dragon going down, second one of the game. Both Cloud Drakes over to the side of Supernova Zero. They're going to be wandering around this rift pretty damn swiftly.
Movement speed for everyone.
And they've still got that vision control, which has been really what's made the difference in this game, I feel like, because these teams seem roughly mechanically equally skilled. It's actually indicated pretty well by the kill count, 15 on both sides. But what's separating them is Supernova seem to just have more of a plan for most of the things that happen. And really they're able to do that because they have deep vision in the enemy jungle constantly. They're able to just see every move that Kinesis are making as they're making them and respond much more appropriately. But Kinesis are the ones making the aggressive play this time, and Faceless will go down. A good catch as he turns a bad corner.
Fortunately, he was caught between a rock and a rumble. Not quite have flash, just coming out cooldown. Hello.
Yeah, Olaf going for the 1v1. Knows he can handle pretty much anyone on the at this point. Will eventually chase Ednog down, but they're still in outer turret in that lane. So has to back off. Still, though, gets priority on the lane. That is a lot of people sent to try and kill the Shen. But they are, at the very least, going to take this outer turret.
And Supernova taking advantage of that, want to push mid a little bit. There's a ping going down that they know it's
Yeah. I mean, it's a Triforce Ezreal. They'll eat that turret alive in a matter of moments. They did not need to send 5 people to the bottom lane to deal with this. This is what I was talking about. Kinesis seem a bit less cohesive in a lot of these calls. And while they are getting this outer turret bottom lane, they're trading unnecessarily a mid turret. They could have had 4 people here defending this and still gotten that bottom turret.
looks like they can barely hear me, so let me take up my gain a bit.
Alright. When you say second caster, which one are you referring to here, Term? Because weirdly enough, second caster isn't my name. I don't know if that's Effect's name. Maybe that's what he goes by. There's the wave coming through. Will get dodged away from. Benionen with a good Rumble ulti, but without a team to follow it up, he's going to have to Zonius to buy some time, but he's still going to get chunked down decently low. I think Shockwave went out, but didn't actually land on anyone from Supernova. That is really unfortunate, but Olaf is still going for this fight. He doesn't care about exhausts, he doesn't care about slows. He does care about losing more than half his health. He's going to back away. Ednog almost with the 3-man taunt. This fight has been going on so long, and no one has died yet. And no one will die. They back away.
Both teams playing around their ultimates very well. Just dodging out, but they need to dodge. Olaf almost getting some kills, but then once you eventually drop half health, maybe not.
Supernova have some healing though. So they're going to be able to sustain a little bit and roam down to the bottom lane. They don't have to base here. They don't have to take their foot off the gas. They can just keep this going.
Double my gain.
This could be another secondary turret falling, but Kinesis have arrived in time to defend this. A lot riskier to defend a secondary turret here than it is to defend an inhibitor because, of course, there's the possibility of a flanking Ahri or Lee Sanderson along those lines. But it doesn't look like Supernova have that level of confidence, not yet at least.
So they're going to go ahead and back off. I have doubled my gain, so hopefully that makes me a little easier to hear, folks. You know, if I need to turn it a little bit more.
Wouldn't want to deny people the wonderful insight and clarity which you provide for the cast.
Hopefully I can pay a bit more attention now that hopefully they can hear me. Okay then, so we're seeing them move towards Baron. At least want to get vision down, but I don't think we'll be seeing it until multiple members from one team or another are dead.
Yeah, this would be basically an insane Baron to actually start, but since Supernova just based away from the bottom side, they know nobody's around here to stop them from getting vision control, and so off the back of all of that various rotation, Kinesis do at least get a little bit of an advantage near the Baron pit. But they have to back off pretty quickly. They're still not in a great position to team fight. Now, I don't know if that's just because they don't feel confident in team fighting, or if it's simply because of the gold deficit that they might think they still have. Honestly, as a player in the game, you can't see the gold values, and Supernova have been ahead this whole game. So even though Kinesis are only 1k back now, they might not think they're that close. And that can inform a lot of the decisions that are made by a team.
Panda using his ultimate to try and help push that top wave a bit. Eggnog is continuing to put pressure on the bottom side. He's finished his Sunfire Cape, so this is going to give him more pushing power while making it more early.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple formula for any team with a Shen. Send the Shen bottom side, send the rest of the team near Baron pit, but it looks like Kinesis are trying to take advantage of it whatever way they can, going for the sided fight. Here comes the Shen with the Stand United, though. And they at least pull that ulti. That's actually not that bad, trading Ragnarok and Culling for Stand United. That's a pretty damn solid trade for them. A lot of health off of Hinwu.
Platypus's ultimate as well, so there is no more Spirit Rush.
Good damage into Project Panda. The charm misses as Platypus flashes forward. Beniona makes it out alive. Olaf now melting away. Hinwu, below half from the earlier engagement, does go down. Good Rumble ulti. Cuts the lane a bit, but it's not going to be nearly enough. One falls. There's the Shen brought low, but Supernova take the team fight.
Absolutely. Brilliantly played by Supernova. Unfortunately, Beniona moving a little bit too far forward. Even though he dodged the charm, he still got burst extremely hard.
Yeah, and a lot of that team fight was also down to the fact that Hinwu was at a third health when it started off. He has Shockwave, Cleanse, and Flash all still available. He just died so quickly he didn't use any of them. And that's really, really rough. Flash forward from Bobby, big plays. Who's going for the big plays, but takes big damage before he can finish them off. Beniona, though, taking the torch, rather, and it is passed off to the Rumble, who turns into a golden statue. The Q lands. Project Panda might have this. He flashes forward for another Q. He eats an Electro Harpoon.
Oh my.
This is a Mexican, like, standoff here. They're both pointing guns at one another, but neither one wants to shoot.
Well, they tried, but unfortunately,
Project Panda will shoot the minions instead.
Back off. So Beniona kind of making up for his earlier mistake.
Oh, get him, Hinwu.
The Baron.
There's a teleport, though. Hinwu can't chase any further because of that. They did just pull the Shen teleport, and Stand United is still down. Kinesis have a brief window of opportunity where if Shen is bottom lane, he won't be able to join the team fight. I don't know if they'll be able to take advantage of it, though.
Oh no, there is a big wave pusher down there, and on his way to try and stop that. And looks like Kinesis might be looking at their first dragon of the game. There's currently no contest.
Yeah, Stand United will be back up on 20 seconds or less, though, now, just judging by the cooldown timer, so not too much of a window, and Kinesis not really in any sort of position to take advantage of that. But they do get the dragon, as you say, off the back of it. A Mountain Drake is actually really valuable when you're sort of contesting Baron on and off like this at this point in the game. And Kinesis start chasing down after Eggnog now, who actually has to burn the ulti to get away. No! Shockwave was a quarter second too late. One frame of animation, and Eggnog would have been a dead ninja.
But that does mean he is able to get away. That was so...
Some fun with the bouncy plants. I don't know if that cooldown trade is worth it. I mean, obviously, Stand United is a much longer cooldown than Shockwave, and Hin will have his ultimate available sooner. But Kinesis' team fight without Shockwave is really, yeah, it's really, really kind of lackluster without that. They're still going to be playing aggressively into the enemy jungle here, which I think is the right call. Because Shen's now bottom lane without teleport and without Stand United. This is a 4v5 if a fight happens. I don't actually know why Eggnog went back bottom lane. He's trying now, he's running up the map. He's trying to get to this fight in time. There's the Ezreal ulti over the wall. There's the Lee Sin steal over the wall! Arrow makes it back out. They didn't need the Shen.
Played by Arrow. They don't need Shen if they can just steal Baron and get out alive.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you're confident enough in your ability to take the steal without the execute, by the way, that was just a 50-50. There was no Lee Sin Q involved, and now Eggnog happy to join the fight after the festivities have only just begun. It's two-man Shockwave, not nearly enough.
Redemption comes down and gives them both health back.
And yeah, this is Supernova now just gonna shove up the mid lane. They could maybe take the game off this. If they get another pick, that's GG. If they don't, it's just an inhibitor.
Without a doubt, is most certainly dead, not without some kind of miracle.
And it looks like Kinesis are well aware that they are on the edge of defeat here, so they're going to back off, seed that inhibitor, and try and live to fight another day. That was disastrous. It was the right call to go for the Baron. It really was. Because Ednog had no way into that fight. If they peel off and take a team fight, it's a 4v5. If they appropriately guard the back of the pit, Arrow shouldn't be able to get in there. But they didn't.
And they blocked the Q, but unfortunately, Arrow was able to outsmite Olaf.
Yeah, which is weird as well, because Olaf is a level higher. He technically has the smite advantage, but, you know, sometimes a small mistake is made, and that can cost quite a bit. Hinwu going down decently low. Ednog, though, is getting chunked as well with that turret aggro. Olaf is going to keep the chase going. This is actually a pretty good fight so far from Kinesis. They still have Shockwave available. Electro Harpoon lands. There's the shield. Veniona going into the zone to prevent any turnaround. There's a Shockwave onto Project Panya, who has to shift backwards, and Arrow will fall. Good fight by Kinesis. See if they can keep this going. Seems unlikely, though.
Well, they're going for it. They do have the Karma speed boost, but...
And Cloud Drakes have activated on everyone but Ednog. It looks like Ednog, yeah, Ednog might go down, but that's about it.
The Shadow Dash not giving him enough range to get away, but very nice by Kinesis, getting a nice recovery.
They have to base, though. They've got super minions shoving up mid. Okay, they're going to go for the turret. Okay, they send Orianna back, so... Orianna will be able to deal with those minions pretty easily, but this is still a very risky play, especially with Ahri around.
So they got the inhibitor with that Baron. They tried to get the bottom turret, but it was really solid engage by Kinesis, is able to basically make a full recovery.
Well, full recovery is generous. The inhibitor being down is still a huge, huge deal. But it was a good team fight. Shows us there's life still left in this team, even after that disheartening Baron loss. But Supernova are still on the offensive. They are unwilling to give up the tempo. And they're going to go ahead and use this Baron buff wave to take down another easy outer turret. And if they can just go back to another simple 4-1 split with Shen, I don't really see a great answer for Kinesis against these Baron buff minions.
And that only leaves no outer turrets, yeah. It's just the two inhibitor turrets at top and bottom. And I'm not sure how much longer that Baron buff has. Abraham might be in trouble.
Shift forward from Project Panda, but Abraham makes it out, just barely. And now it's a shove bottom lane from the 4-man squad and top lane from the 1-man ninja squad.
Ednog has that Titanic Hydra finish, so with that, and the Sunfire Cape is quickly going to be pushing into these waves. Looks like we're getting around 4 and 5 builds for most everybody.
Kinetic Esports need another good few team fights under their belt before I really have any confidence in them coming back into this game. Certainly not an impossibility. They've got the composition for it, and it looks like they're picking one of those fights right now. Project Panda flashes off the red carpet. Gets a heal back as well, but Olaf is not willing to let this fight go. Continuing to chase after Platypus. He's overextended a bit away from his team. He's nearly gone down, but he does manage to make it out alive. Veniona doing some good damage. Bobby Big Plays gets a rumble kicked back through him. Bobby Big Plays now taunted. That is a great catch on to the Lucian. Platypus still hanging around the edges of this fight. Finishes the kill. Project Panda now coming back in. And Faceless with a flash forward for the bubble. Doesn't quite land it.
Just short of Abraham.
2-man Shockwave. That is a great turnaround from Hinwu. They might have this, but no. There's just not enough left in the tank. Supernova kite out everything that they have. Project Panda doesn't respect the damage from an Orianna, but still in the end, that's Supernova with a team fight win that probably cinches the game.
Yeah, but there's a nice big wave going right to the double turret right now. Ednog has teleport so he can block the damage on one of the minions for some time.
Yeah, likely not even necessary. Good game from both teams here. Honestly, quite an even fight. That Baron being a catalyst for destruction for the side of Kinesis Esports, but it happens, and occasionally you've just got to acknowledge that a mechanical mistake will slip through the cracks. Not let it tilt you, and continue to improve one way or another.
Absolutely. So that is going to be it for this particular semifinal. Just give me a moment to take a look at the bracket and see where we're at.
And we'll be back with you once we can get into another game, folks. Might be the finals, might be the semis. It depends on how long the other semis is taking. We'll be back as soon as we can.
Oh, on that note, it is going to be Supernova versus Supernova Zero in the finals. So we'll be right back as soon as we're in Champion Select, so do not go anywhere. And we're back. Sorry about the delay, folks, but we are ready to cast the finals for our Reverie Esports Qualifier number 2 for the first Rift Cup. This is going to be Supernova versus Supernova Zero in our final match tonight.
And we'll see who comes first, or zeroth, I suppose, in the organization. It's a Supernova scrim here, and really, whoever wins, Supernova loses.
It's also worth noting that in the third place match, it is Supernova Prometheus facing off against Kinesis Esports, who were in the last match we just saw, and barely lost out to Supernova Zero, I believe. Yes. Dang old Supernovas.
The interesting thing about sister teams playing each other is that these players are rather familiar with one another. Trust me, in the lobby, there was a lot of banter. These players know one another. They've played with one another. They've played against one another, most likely. I mean, this exact situation has probably come up in the Supernova org. They've probably scrimmed each other. So the bans, the picks, these are all going to be highly personally tuned. You know, you're going to see things like a fizz ban, or, well, Vladimir and Kazakhs are pretty meta, but things along those lines. You'll see target picks, target bans, very pocket picks come out. And that is really interesting League of Legends for sure.
Absolutely. So they're taking the time. Oh, there it is. It's going to be a Lulu ban.
Yeah. Again, another sort of string one meta pick. And you're almost sort of guaranteed to ban out Lulu if you're on red side, unless you just want to play into that matchup as something of a lesser support. Nami and Karma can both do well into the matchup, and in laning phase, they're just fine. Actually, Lulu isn't that much of a powerhouse in laning, but it's mid-game and it's later game team fights where Lulu just shines.
Most certainly. So we're seeing a last second not ban? Nope, it is going to be a Graves.
Yep, another powerful jungle pick. Banned out against Arrow in the semis, and I imagine Supernova have an understanding of what Arrow plays as well, so banning that out against him once again. And the final ban, I'm actually really not sure where this is going to go. There's still Camille on the table, but after a round of nerfs, not very many people actually like to play her anymore. Oriana is probably one of the top mid laners at the moment. Lucian is quite strong. And if Project Panda isn't going to get it for himself, it looks like he's going to abandon away.
That does seem to be the case. So they got a full minute for their first pick here. It's going to be Nezreal, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I think
Gragas.
Yeah, Gragas is fine too. Slightly flex pick. You can go Gragas lane, most likely jungle. But I actually kind of like the Ezreal pick because Caitlyn does well into Ezreal, but has a power trough right when Ezreal spikes with Triforce if he goes for that build route. Whereas the Lucian matches Ezreal in terms of power spikes and does well into the lane. So with that banned away, it actually makes Ezreal slightly better as a pick. But going for the jungle early pick as well makes some sense. We already saw last game that Arrow has quite an impact. I wouldn't be surprised if we went back to his Lee Sin here.
It does make sense to me. He did quite well with it in the previous game, and Nog is going to go ahead and lock in that Ezreal for Panda.
Yeah, basically, I think for the same reasons that I just said, like Ezreal isn't great into a Caitlyn lane, so there's a real possibility that Supernova pick the Caitlyn now to match into this lane. But Caitlyn isn't great in the mid game when Ezreal is going to be really strong, and when Supernova Zero as a team are potentially going to be really strong because their mid game in the semis was actually really good. They were able to rotate and take some deep towers early on, and Arrow back on Lee Sin makes a lot of sense.
So they're going to go ahead and it looks like they're going to keep on matching what they did previously. We'll have to see if we see a marksman locked in here, maybe a support, some safe picks.
Yeah.
Try and hold their solo laners for a little bit later.
I'd be really interested to see them go for a marksman that isn't Caitlyn. Basically, whatever they pick, if it's not Caitlyn, I'm going to be kind of excited because Caitlyn is just the really, really obvious pick here. But of course, it comes with all those weaknesses that I've already talked about. And they can also get a priority support if they want, with Lulu banned out, going for Karma or Nami. Both make sense. I actually think Nami's a really good idea because Faceless has already shown that he plays that pretty well. But maybe it's the Thresh and the Jhin. Okay, cool. Yeah, Jhin. I mean, he saw some nerfs since his reign as the AD carry on top of the throne, and also lethality has seen some nerfs. So not very many people playing him anymore, but he's still quite strong in the ways he's always been strong. He's a very good engage support for his team, and he's got really good damage in lane.
Absolutely, and we haven't seen Thresh for a very long time. He occasionally appears here on and off, but the Flay and the Hook give him some good engage and disengage. And see if we can get some good picks here.
Yeah, there'd have to be massive changes to Thresh's kit for him to never see play again. He's the Lee Sin of support. Whatever the meta is, you can always find a Thresh player. And Raccoon is that Thresh player this game. So I like this duo lane. It doesn't fall into the trap of picking the Caitlyn and having the power trough in the mid game, and it still deals with an Ezreal lane really well and can bully him back. So I actually
Absolutely.
quite like these picks from Supernova. I imagine we see a top laner and a no, we see a mid laner in a support. So they're holding off on the top lane pick.
Very interesting. Very curious to see what they pick here, if they're prioritizing a counter pick for top that much. So for against Victor, we could see Syndra, Orianna,
Mm.
Ari. This is just a whole bunch of things that they could pick here because Victor is pretty good either way. Just a standard
I
mid-range
like
mage.
I like something with a lot of burst into the Victor and with good range. So Syndra, I think, makes a lot of sense. Ari, as you said, would also be able to roam pretty well. I think the top lane pick is a little more interesting here because that is being picked blind, and obviously Supernova Zero have some plan for this top lane if they're holding their pick until the end for it. I'm
Seeing a
curious
lot
to
of
see what Supernova go
rotations of
for.
Kale, Yasuo, and Syndra.
Oh, Elise. That would put the Gragas top, I'd imagine.
They'll probably push the Gragas to top lane, which is very curious. Don't see a whole lot of top lane Gragas.
That is a really magic damage heavy composition from Supernova. They've got two AP laners and an AP jungler.
That's going to put a lot of pressure on Kyle, Cile, Sile. Interesting.
I imagine Sile.
It's going to be put a lot of pressure on him to deal lots of physical damage because so curious to see what Faceless locks in for Ednog here. He did quite well in the Shen in the last game.
Galio could be really strong into this lane. He does really well into magic damage tanks. Nautilus could be okay, just as a frontliner for the team.
I could see Galio.
You could see some.
It fits what he did on the Shen. And
you could see something along a carry laner if he wanted to go for like a. But yeah, I think a tank makes a lot of sense here. Going from the Nautilus because it's just going to be so easy for him to itemize. He just builds pure magic resist early on, and then once team fights start, maybe build like a Randuin's to deal with Jhin. That's all he's going to need probably.
absolutely. We've seen it before with Nautiluses where they just build Locket, Spirit Visage, Banshee's Veil, Guardian Angel, just tons and tons of MR, and then they just can't
Yeah,
die.
because the only threats that are like at all proximate to the Nautilus lane are going to be the jungle mid laner and top laner. You don't really ever see an AD carry roam top to gank. So he's only got to build one type of tanky itemization to deal with all three of those threats. So it's going to be really easy for Ednog to get tanky in the early game. I don't know how Supernova is going to deal with this. They've still got a decent composition, that's for sure. They're just a little monodimensional in terms of damage. But we've got the spectator delay to get through.
Absolutely. So we just got a couple seconds, but on that note, we're going to be taking a bit of a commercial break. As soon as we're in the game, we will be right back. So do not go anywhere, folks. And here we are on to the Rift. Just give us a moment to wait for a little... There it is. Go ahead and fix my chat. Let's go for it.
And it is going to be Supernova against Supernova. A weird turn of events for the finals, but it's going to be Supernova's main squad against Supernova Zero, who are presumably the squad that happened before anything even was formed at Supernova. They are the prodigal team. They are the genesis of Supernova. That's only what I'm assuming, given the number at the end of their name.
And both teams may be looking for an invade or just counter invading.
Oh,
One
no.
of the two. I'm assuming it's going to be Supernova main team that is going to be invading because they do have the fresh.
I mean, we're already seeing like mirrored strategies from these teams, which is something that I kind of anticipated going into this game because, of course, they both share, I'm assuming here, they both share coaching staff, they both share just general organization, they both share the same Discord, they talk to each other, all that sort of thing. So strategies and thoughts and ideas are going to leak back and forth between these two teams, I imagine.
And both teams look like they're going to start spreading out, so no invade. Just both teams kind of anticipating either an invade themselves, possibly.
Yeah, and it's actually a really interesting situation. It's kind of a Mexican standoff in a way. Like whichever team actually decides to invade is the one that gets screwed. So long as neither side chooses to pull the trigger, neither side has any early game troubles. And we'll see Arrow start off in his Raptor camp for that early XP benefit.
Both. All players spamming those mastery symbols.
Entertaining, for sure. But let's talk about the Gragas top. The Gragas top into the Nautilus. How do you think this matchup is going to go for Sung Tong's effect? Because this is not a lane we see very often.
No, I think initially Tongs will probably have the advantage, but Ednog, as the game goes along, he's just going to start building more and more magic resistance as it gets to the point where Sung will do no damage.
Yeah, it's very true. Because they've got this triple magic damage threat, and he doesn't really have much in the way of itemization choice. He's just got to go for that Spirit Visage early, I'd imagine. Maybe a Locket. Wants to be really helpful to his team. A lot of different options.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could go for the Bambi Cinder early on just for some wave clear. That wouldn't be terrible.
Nice chunk damage with that Titan's Wrath.
As Raccoon's playing up in the lane, they know they're going to hit level 2 early. There's the hook flying out towards Project Panda, actually. Ignite comes down onto this threat. Shift forward from Project Panda. Raccoon is burning away. One more auto. And goes to Faceless. Kyle trying his best to kite this one back. He could be in some real danger still to get back to the safety of his turret, and Faceless is going to keep bullying him. Over a good snare from Kyle. And the Dancing Grenade is enough to chase the Karma away. First blood to Supernova Zero.
Zero doing quite a good job there. Raccoon took just too much damage trying to get in range for a flail.
Yeah, it was a good idea, actually, to try and take that fight because Raccoon and Kyle were hitting level 2 early. But he took a little bit too much damage trying to make it work. Now Project Panda taking some damage of his own. A good snare on the Faceless as the stun lands. Celery going to be repelling forwards, but immediately regretting his decision. Now scuttling away on 8 legs. He's caught between a few teleports. The Pillars of Light into the sky. Arrow flashes forward mid-E animation and claims the kill. Kyle now low on health. There's teleports in for both the top laners. It's 300 gold to Ednog as he gets a kill. Raccoon has even joined back up into the lane. But finally the fight will finish.
And Zero coming out ahead. A surprise by Arrow coming out of nowhere to basically secure Kyle there. And
Oh, man.
Arrow goes down to the surprise Gragas with the teleport, who used both teleport and flash there.
And yeah, Sung Tong's going to build triple Doran's Ring off that. So that'll be an interesting lane to watch. As it's triple Doran's Ring Gragas versus double Doran's Ring Corrupting Potion Nautilus. It's going to be a much actually more high damage, high threat lane than you'd expect out of a Gragas Nautilus at 4 or 5 minutes. Exciting.
Just keep building Doran's rings, nothing will go wrong.
I mean, you got 10 fingers. Too bad you only have 6 inventory slots, so you can't get a ring for every finger. That's unfortunate.
Absolutely.
Then you got to think about toe rings, and for Gragas, you got to think about belly button rings, which really I don't want to think about that for Gragas specifically.
That's kind of gross.
Double bust for Sung Tongs, though. And this really aggressive early itemization means Ednog might be in some trouble.
Ednog does have the corrupting potion for sustain, but Sung Tong's sustain naturally.
Yeah, I mean, even as well as that red buff will give him a little bit of sustain if he manages his damage correctly. So we've got Arrow up top side looking to equalize that, but he's sitting on a ward and he didn't realize it. Over the wall comes Sir Celery. A sentence I would absolutely love to say again, and there's the chump. Sir Celery claiming the kill with his venomous bite. Ednog now flashing over the wall, but the repel will follow. Celery anticipating that. The stun, actually no, that was just Neurotoxin. The Neurotoxin lands, and now the stun lands onto the turret. Sung Tong easily slams that into the ground, but the minion aggro on him. He's okay, he'll make it out. He had the potion running. He's okay.
Very nicely played. But before Arrow sitting on top of that ward, just chunked to half health before he even realized it was going on.
Yeah, and Sung Tong's very sneaky with the way he approached that. It looked like he was just walking down the river to make a bush, and then suddenly body belly slam out of nowhere.
Yep, and then Celery came forward with the blasting cone and was able to stay high.
So Supernova are able to pull back ahead in terms of gold here, actually. And the majority of the lead is on this Gragas now, so gonna be rough for Ednog, who previously might have had an easy time of it in this game. We talked about how he only has to itemize magic resistance, but having put so much gold early on into early laning items and still having forfeited the lane at this point, it's gonna be hard for him to now build up some tanky itemization.
Absolutely, and he's already it's pretty huge.
Yeah, I mean, it does give him some breathing room in the lane at the very least. It's going to be hard for Sir Celery to get another gank off if Ednog can keep the lane back a little bit. But that global gold. Yeah. As Raccoon and Kyle now, sending our attention to the bottom lane, are getting shoved in under the turret, a circumstance I didn't really anticipate.
Kyle trying to get some last hits here.
A lot of damage onto Raccoon, and yeah, I didn't really think that the Jhin Thresh was going to be out-pressured in lane by an Ezreal and Karma, but even with the early tier, Project Panda still seems to have the pressure necessary to keep this lane shoved up. And a lot of it may be down to that earlier misplay, where Raccoon played a little bit aggressive on the level 2 and it did not pay off for them, but they've got Sir Celery coming in from the side. Raccoon flash forward for the flay, and it looks like he's still got his confidence, but Project Panda shifts over the wall and he might just be able to escape this one as Sir Celery trying to chase down the support, lands the stun. That was very nicely placed, but it doesn't have the damage, and Supernova let both kills slip away.
Bit of a misplay there. Celery using the repel to go after Faceless instead of just focusing onto Project Panda.
Yeah. Raccoon and Sir Celery really split their focus there. And like the amount of damage in CC that was done total was enough to kill a champion, but they spread it across 2 champions, and as such they didn't get any gold in their pockets. Rough for Supernova.
Reminds me of the saying, the man who chases 2 hares gets neither.
Yeah, it's a good saying. The man who chases 2 kills gets neither. You want to translate it to League of Legends?
And Ednog taking a nice big chunk of damage there. Thornring did a bit of work.
Oh yeah, and he's got some early magic resistance of his own. Actually, we didn't really talk about that. Sung Tongs as well can just go some early tanky items that Ednog will never be able to fight him. Use the combo once again. And this will be a slow and painful lane for the Nautilus, unless there's some drastic change. Arrow could be the catalyst for that drastic change, but it looks like it'll have to be relatively soon. Sung Tongs is going for the fight. Hook onto the wall, Ednog creates some good distance, but Sung is continuing the chase. Body slam lands, the golems are even joining in, and it's a killing spree for the Gragas.
Absolutely. He has those boots, and Ednog has no boots, so it's just so much faster.
And Arrow was not nearly close enough to the fight, though he's still coming out top lane. Go to your minimap. Meanwhile, bottom side, Project Panda and Faceless are playing very safely, with the knowledge that Elise is nearby.
Nice and quick. See, Ednog's finally able to get a little bit of magic resistance and some additional health.
This is really unfortunate for Arrow in particular, who's just always been just slightly too late to the game here. So Celery going for a really aggressive flank. The stun lands onto Faceless. This Jhin ult doesn't have the range to actually be involved in the fight. The teleport from Sung Tongs as well. This is overall a whiff from Supernova. And Project Panda even steals the grub. Oh, the flash over the wall from Celery, but he doesn't have the damage yet. He's only got Sorc Shoes and an Amplifying Tome.
Very curious turn of events there. Celery kind of walking out in a weird spot. I don't know if that's accidental passing.
I mean, the flash over the wall certainly wasn't accidental.
That is true.
The cocoon wasn't like that was. Celery seems to be overestimating his damage repeatedly in the early game here, but still, Supernova take a turret off the back of it. This is all in the end worth it in terms of gold. However, it was a lot invested and kind of really rough around the edges.
Absolutely. See, Ednog trying to get some of his own gold back. He's even up the CS score here.
This is the point in the game where you think what might have happened if they had drafted a more aggressive top laner than the Nautilus. Nautilus will have time to scale up and will be able to become that front line for his team later on. But if they had gone with something like even a Galio, something just slightly higher damage than this pick, there's real opportunities for Ednog to potentially fight back. But now at a, let me just check here, at a 1.3k gold disadvantage and 3 Doran's rings back, it's going to be really, really rough for him to ever take a fight with Sungtong.
Actually, he's finally purchased that special caliber, so that is going to make the lane significantly easier for him, so he'll get a little bit extra regeneration when he gets hit.
Yeah, as well as just the raw magic resistance being so very valuable. Especially because Sungtongs hasn't built any penetration, which was actually a realistic option. He could have gone for the Sword Shoes if he had wanted to be very, very aggressive. Doesn't really need to, though.
Doesn't need to. Figures he'll be better off with a bit of extra magic resistance and some tenacity.
Yeah, and the penetration is going to be built by Sir Celery and Jesus Chris. As you can see, they've already got started on that train.
Jesus Christ. It's only missing a T.
Oh man, good dodges by Faceless as Jesus is now getting chased away. Poor Jesus. You know, I missed that Bible story when the robot man from outer space tossed huge clouds of chaos storms at Jesus. But, you know, Jesus fights back. It's another lesson I didn't learn in Bible school. Probably because I didn't go to Bible school, but, you know, I didn't learn it.
That is indeed true. That is going to be a kill. He's going to Zuno. They pick up Faceless. Sorely trying to push onto this turret, but they're all so very low.
This is a very, very risky push, but, you know, I don't think it's necessarily the wrong call. As it pulls Supernova Zero down here to reply to it, and Sungtong is now left with even more free time to keep shoving that top lane. Dang, this is highly aggressive from Supernova. But Zero aren't really looking to fight, aside from that hook attempt, I guess.
Good poke from Project Panda, but he only has a Sheen right now, so he's not doing too much damage.
And Supernova are actually in quite a good spot if they can take a team fight here. If you just look at itemization, like particularly between these 80 carries, Project Panda has a Sheen for damage. And that's it. Just the Sheen effect. And there's a BF sword and a Caulfield's finished on Kyle. On Jhin, who already has more base damage at this point in the game than an Ezreal will. So picking a team fight right now is very much the right call for Supernova. I would be surprised if they didn't look for one over the next minute or two, but Dragon is already down. There's good vision for Supernova Zero that's going to prevent any sort of flank towards the mid lane. It's going to be really hard for them to actually find the fight they want, but I imagine they want one.
And Ednog slowly trying to push to that top side again. Trying to get as much of that gold that he desperately needs. We're looking for a fight here, maybe some picks.
Yeah, it's going to be down to Raccoon, actually, or Jesus Christ in large part, or potentially a at least Cocoon, but a good hook onto Faceless. There's the follow-up Lantern. This could be the start to the fight that they want. The Cocoon flies wide, but Faceless is still going to melt. Teleport in behind, Ednog looking to join the fray. Jesus Christ almost down. The hook aggressively placed towards the Syndra, doesn't land. Now a teleport in from Sungtongs, but he doesn't really have a team to back him up. Body slam, flash onto 2, flash away from the Victor. Explosive cast predicted, and Sungtongs melted to pieces. Now Raccoon will be chased down and hunted like the vermin that his name suggests he is. And it'll be a shove up the mid lane.
They did get a good catch onto Faceless, but they paid for it with 3. And as well as Chris's flash.
Yeah, I think the turning point in that fight where it became really bad for Supernova, as opposed to just, you know, not a great trade, was when Sungtong decided to continue fighting even after his team had backed away. He teleported in. He was obviously a little bit concerned about the fight at that point. He was hesitant, but then after a moment or two of waddling about a bit, he decided to body slam flash into the back lines, and it didn't really work out.
Absolutely. He would have killed Platypus with the explosive casks there, but very good prediction by Platypus and flashes away from him.
Yeah, and I mean also just the delay on Greg Assault now means that you can't execute that combo as reliably. One of the reasons why Gragas fell out of the meta for a long time and still isn't seen too terribly often.
And personally, I'm fine with that decision. It gives a little more potential to avoid just getting blown up by a Gragas that's building a lot of damage.
Still though, Supernova the ones playing up into the enemy jungle here, as Raccoon's looking for a flank.
He does spot out Arrow and decides to back out. He's just getting some vision as well. Very nice deep wards into that top side.
I think Supernova still actually won a team fight here. Even if that last fight didn't look very clean for them, they're still in a pretty good position. There were just some mechanical misplays there, some bad calls in that fight, and that's really the only reason they lost. It wasn't because they're in a bad position to take fights. But Sung Tong is looking for the 1v1. Ednog, at this point, is not going to be bullied around anymore, though.
Yes, Spectral has the Mertrez, so he is going to do significantly better against Sung Tong, who only has the Mertrez.
That's real difficult to catch. Lee Sin, also rather difficult usually, but Arrow does manage to get hooked there. Raccoon is looking for the follow-up. Kyle dropping a few bullets. Looks like that's the final act, though. Guarding the blue buff. I like that. That was good.
Very well played. Arrow does get out with his life. Quite a bit dumped onto him trying to kill him, but at least he being the slippery blind monk that he is.
Yeah, and actually, Curtain Call being down is a really big deal. It's a lot of Supernova's reliable engage. That's one of the main problems with Supernova. They've drafted this composition that spikes hard in the mid-game and does really well in these mid-game fights, but doesn't have super reliable engage to make the fights happen. Oh, the body slam gets blocked by the minions there. Unfortunate for Sung Tong. So one of their biggest problems right now is picking good fights. You saw 2 attempts there onto both Lee Sin and Ezreal. And the problem is exacerbated by the fact that there's a Lee Sin and an Ezreal on the enemy team. Those champions are so hard to get picks on.
Absolutely. Assuming Arrow builds a little more durability, it's going to be even harder to take out as the game goes along.
Yeah. Platypus is really the only viable target for them, and Gone Cleanse, which I think is perfect for this game.
Very much not interested in being caught out by any kind of crowd control. And Sung Tong's is at the point where he just can't seem to push Ednog out of lane. He does have that Sunfire completed, so it does give him a bit more AoE to push the wave, but since it does magic damage, it's not going to be too helpful in dealing with Ednog.
Yeah, basically the game just comes down to whether or not hooks, cocoons, body slams, Jhin ultis, and scatters of the weak actually land. And at this point, they haven't been landing as reliably as they need to. That does not mean that Supernova are out of the running. In fact, they're only about 1k gold back, and they still have something of a lead in terms of itemization.
It's deceptive, it's only about 200 gold.
Oh, pardon me. Yeah, I was misreading the numbers. Still, though, not a significant amount back. Specific numbers aside. However, we may have to get back to that in a moment. A good stun on the Platypus. That is a dead Victor for sure, but Jesus Christ may fall himself. Storm won't chase post-mortem. Sung Tong's now in a 3v1, but he's going to buy as much time as he can. Sir Celery arrives from the river. Good burst onto Arrow, but he's got to give up his friend. I don't know about that flash. I don't think Sung Tong's making it out of there.
No, there's no way he's getting. It's a bit of a wasted flash. Here comes
Still, though, a minor mistake, as Curtain Call doesn't quite land. Neither does the hook, though. Potential re-engage here from both sides, actually, as Arrow comes flying back in to repel to buy some time. Raccoon landing the hook onto Ednog. A box dropped, actually very nicely placed to protect his team. But here's Project Panda, fresh and ready to fight. Shift forward, nearly drops Raccoon with the first Q. Kyle body blocking for his support. Good stun by Sir Celery. Project Panda now diving into the turret. This may be a little bit too aggressive from the Ezreal, but no, he survives. It's a double kill. He does go down in the end. Kyle turning it back around, though, and here's Jesus Chris joining the fight. It is just one man after another funneling into this desolate battlefield of corpses as Arrow leaps away to a ward, and I think he makes it out alive, but Sung Tong may think otherwise. There's a cask landing. Arrow doesn't actually have the safeguard. He's only got 50 health left. The stun doesn't land. Jesus Chris going for a rematch. Platypus gets chunked. He's got the backup from Kyle. Arrow now just below 200 health. He's buying as much time as he can, but he can't go into the turret. No, he's trying to get the execute, but Sung Tong gets it.
So very close.
Good lord.
That was quite the interesting chain of events that made it very hard to kind of decide what was going on. Oh, man.
And it's really, I said at the very beginning of this game, it's indicative of the way that these two teams play so similarly. They both, at the same times in those fights, had the same ideas. It's like, oh, somebody in the enemy team went a little bit low. We can turn. So they both turn at the same time. Oh no, we're going kind of low. We should leave. And they both leave at the same time. Like, it was as if the two teams were from the same organization or something.
Something like that. And that is going to be the Earth Drake, Mountain Drake, sorry, secured by Supernova, so that is going to give them some nice ability to take down objectives. One thing I really appreciate was how aggressive Panda was there. He wanted so badly to get 2 kills, and he got them, but he did pay for it.
Yeah, very, very aggressive Ezreal play. That's a good word for it. And it paid off. The 2-for-1 trade pretty good. I can't really make any specific points about those fights because they were so long and drawn out and bombastic. There was nothing really, I don't know, analytical or strategical to pull out of them. It was entertaining. We'll leave it at that. Baron now is a very realistic objective for these teams, though, as we breast the 20-minute mark, and we've got almost 20 minutes on the board, on the 20 kills rather on the board.
Absolutely. So currently it looks like Jesus, Chris, and sometimes we're doing pretty well despite the fact that
Flash forward.
Oh, hello.
Okay, doesn't land. Continue making your point.
Both Jesus, Chris, and sometimes we're doing pretty well from this other. Got a nice big gold lead.
Flash forward. I have to interrupt you with the same words as last time. Jesus Christ is unstoppable. Proselytizing very effectively.
He's sharing his love for Jesus through Force.
And the last time they did that, that was called a crusade. Anyways, they're bringing their crusade over to the Baron pit. As we've got Ednog from around the corner. Jesus Chris is the target. Sir Celery now landing the stun. Ednog is very tanky, but in a 5v1, it doesn't count for that much.
Unfortunately, his team kind of reluctant to do any kind of follow-up here.
Yeah, they don't have their Ezreal. He's just now coming out of the base. Supernova are still melting to this Baron, though. This is early days yet. This Baron will shred health bars. Good toss back onto Platypus. That is exactly the target they need. A Chaos Storm comes down. Raccoon will be traded. Ezreal ulti flying through. And they managed to keep Supernova off the Baron. There's some value in that for sure, even if they do trade 2-for-1 overall.
Absolutely. Really, that's kind of what we talked about. They need to catch Platypus, and they found him.
Yeah.
And that is
Platypus is the
Chris at 6-0, so he is getting more and more deadly.
Okay. Interesting. I guess Arrow was confident that Sungtongs wouldn't be expecting that.
Surprise, Lee Sin.
But yeah, Supernova keen to defend this last remaining outer turret. Or pardon me, no, they've still got their outer turret bottom lane, so keen to defend this still standing outer turret on the top side.
Absolutely. Even Jesus Chris showed up, even though he was quite low.
It's actually quite interesting how few turrets have fallen this game, given how many kills there are on the board. Very little actually taken off the back of a lot of these kills, which points to a pretty messy game overall.
Absolutely. You can't take turrets if your whole team is dead.
Yeah. Either messy or really even. That's what you can draw from that.
It's been pretty even overall, but still a very slight advantage to Supernova most of these fights.
Yeah, the advantage is always going to be the Supernova. But which Supernova? Therein lies the question. That shield was as large as an 80 carries health pool. Nautilus is disgusting.
And Titan's Wrath being one of the larger shields in the game.
But it might not be enough to save him here. Nog getting melted below half. There's another Titan's Wrath. He's going to buy as much time as possible. His team is now filtering towards the Baron. Sir Celery is down on the bottom side. Supernova have to respond to this really, really quickly, but I don't think Zero have gotten to the pit quickly enough. Yeah. Not fast enough to the Baron pit.
Absolutely. Kind of questioning if Ednog should even build the Sunfire at all, because he has decent AoE. With Death Charge and Titan's Wrath. He's just, I probably would have had it built more magic resistance.
That's a legit point. Sunfire's pretty standard as the wave clear, so he can actually be a sideline threat, but Nautilus might be able to get away not buying it, at least in his first item or two. and going for that magic resistance just to try and counter the Syndra and Elise and Gragas combo. But Supernova burned the Jhin ulti in an attempted dive and don't get much out of it.
They do not even get the turret, but that is going to be that side turret taken out on the bottom lane. On Sun top there.
They're a little bit split at the moment, but Supernova can always just avoid a fight.
Kyle is really getting anyways pushed away. He's purchased the rapid fire cannon, so this is going to give him the occasional boost to his range.
You know, I really wish that Jesus Chris was playing like Orianna or Lulu mid or something like that. Somebody with a shield, so that I can say Jesus saves in the middle of a team fight. I really want to say that. I guess maybe if he knocks someone back at the right moment. But it is, again, a ton of investment onto a top laner on the opposite side of the map from Baron. And again, we're going to see the enemy team go to Baron. The positions are reversed. It's Supernova 0 now chasing a top laner down. But Sungtongs is taking longer to die than Ednog did. In fact, might make it away. Might make it away. He gets away.
Oh
and Supernova have the Baron below half.
Supernova doing a much better job of taking advantage.
Project Bandit kills Celery, but he still got the Baron with the Spider Leg? I'm really not even sure how he got the Baron there. He was dead. Still, it works.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
He might have smited just as he died. That's the only thing I can imagine happening. Like literally at like a quarter second before Ezreal was about to hit him. But Supernova claim Baron for half of a turret's health. Maybe all of a turret's health. Supernova 0 can take this turret, probably.
They did manage to get Suntongs' flash. I guess there's that, but I wouldn't say that's worth it.
Not a consideration.
Yeah.
The dragon is more of a consideration, actually. A Mountain Drake is pretty solid, but it's nowhere near as useful as the Baron buff is going to be. And we'll see exactly what Supernova do with this.
Absolutely. Suntongs' build allowing him to stay alive pretty well there. He's got a lot of armor and decent magic resistance, plus deal with arrow and night damage.
Yep. And there's even something more of a split-pushing threat because he has that Sheen itemization in the form of the Iceborne, so... The secondary turret now going to fall as Lee Sin gets chased off. Jesus defending his territory.
Sometimes using the bounty set to forward and try and catch Flash before he can flash away from the explosive cast. You can only barely see it on the camera there.
Supernova 0 looking for an opportunity to push Supernova back, but it's going to be really hard for them to find a good fight at this point. Especially with the power that Jesus Chris is wielding right now.
Got a lot of that. He didn't even need to use Prey for it.
Yes, we've got more jokes about this man's name coming up at 7.
Pace is getting bursted hard though.
Here comes Kyle's ulti though. The final act of this team fight might be approach. Lots of blinking health bars on the side of Supernova 0, but Sungtongs is not tanky enough to stay under that turret forever, and he's got to back away. Supernova 0 will survive to fight another day, and that day may be coming relatively soon. Or maybe Supernova just base. Maybe Supernova just base. I don't know. Supernova just base.
Both teams are deciding if they want to base or not. Kind of going all over the place, but that is going to be a team fight where no one dies.
And that's really good for Supernova 0. They hold their secondary turret. They delay the Baron buff a little bit longer. They stay in the game. And that's their objective right now. Just stay in this game because Ezreal will scale up given some time. Victor is strong in the late game. And maybe, just maybe, they can get some good picks and come back in this. At this point, they are decidedly no longer in the driver's seat. They are the ones who have to come back.
Absolutely. I think Ednog has finally finished that Fear Producer. It's going to give him some nice chunk of health. And he's working on what I imagine to be a Guardian Angel.
Arrow is very much spotted out doing that blue buff. A lot of trinkets thrown at that man. And actually, I think the blue got stolen there? No, it got given over to the Victor, but Sungtong over the wall is looking to take it back. Platypus tossed back into the fight. Good body block from Arrow. Platypus is the man they have to protect here. This Victor is central to their team fight. Arrow gives up his life to save the President. Looks like it'll just be the 1 for O.
President is a half man, half robot.
I knew it all along. At least he's not a lizard. like in real life. Dun dun dun! But the reason they have to save this Victor is because he is the core of their wave clear as well as their team fight. So in order to keep these turrets alive, the Victor has to be alive.
Sometimes
So far,
they body slam in and they get Leonard out.
And the Baron buff has wore off, so successfully Supernova Zero have averted purple buff disaster. But Platypus has his hands full with another minion wave coming up and only half its health remaining. I don't know if they can hold off another shove here. Yeah, the turret goes down, but maybe they've got a good pick onto Sir Celery. Goodbye! Ontological doom as the spider clenches its little legs together. Jesus Chris is godlike, though I imagine he always is. As Sung Tongs flashes away from an Ezreal ulti that he assumed was coming his way. And Project Panda seems to have it out for this Thresh as a shift forward manages to claim the kill, and now he's going for another one. The bloodlust is real. It's a double kill to Ezreal.
So they managed to get a 4 for 1, but they also lose the bottom turret, though the inhibitor is not dead just yet.
And I'd just like to take a moment to appreciate the fact that Jesus Chris was godlike in that. It's entertaining. It is very much entertaining.
Just tons of jokes about a name like that.
So many. So very many. We haven't even made any jokes about anybody else yet. I mean, Arrow, who's playing Lee Sin, he flies forward like an arrow. That's not nearly as good.
No, gotta stretch it a little bit more.
But my sense of humor is particularly stretchy. I can find almost anything funny. Supernova Zero now are going to be shoving up the bottom lane, but they don't nearly have the gas left in the tank to take any turrets, which is really rough for them. That's one of the few team fights they've actually won in recent memory, and they're not able to do anything with it. Aside from hold off their inhibitor going down. That's actually pretty good.
Basically, the only reason I even think they really took that team fight was because of how much focus Supernova put on killing that bottom turret.
Yeah, which is the right call to some degree. Like, that is permanently down now. It's never coming back, so getting that permanent advantage is really good.
The inhibitor open, which is going to give them a good opportunity to get some super minions in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and it's kind of rough when the only things that I can say about a one team fight is that they didn't lose more. They didn't actually win anything. It's like fighting a hard battle and then coming out the other side still, you know, losing the war.
Well, Arrow has that Locket finish now, and Ednog has that Guardian Angel finished.
Yeah, the Guardian Angel is actually a really big deal here on this Nautilus. Allows him to buy tons more time. And the Blade of the Ruined King actually is really big for Project Panda. He's now going to start doing somewhat significant damage to Sung Tong. So up until this point, he's been able to tank 3 or 4 members of the enemy team.
On that note, both Sung Tong and Sir Shirley have also purchased Guardian Angels.
The third dragon actually goes over to the side of Zero. But they lose priority on the top lane with that dragon take, and I imagine they lose this turret as a result.
Here comes the Ezreal ultimate. Back a little bit,
that might be enough. No, it might be enough, actually. Victor's here as well. And the turret's under fire, but this is actually really risky for Supernova. They don't want to repeat the last one.
Yeah. Barely, but it's alive.
And they managed to get the dragon as well. They snuck that in there, so well done by Supernova Zero. They are proving surprisingly resilient here. But Baron is once again the big question mark. We'll see whether or not they have the answer.
They're going for it.
They've got wards over the wall, but they're actually being canceled out by that vision ward right now. It's down below 1,000 health. The Thresh claims it. Okay, no, Thresh is on the side of Supernova. I thought that was stolen for a second. Oh boy, no. Still, that weird that Raccoon gets the kill on the Baron.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were lucky that Arrow wasn't close enough to jump over the wall.
And speaking of Arrow, goodbye.
Only ended Lee Sin there, so Arrow not quite paying attention, but that is going to be Supernova Zero kind of on the back foot even further now. A little slow reacting to the Baron, and now they've lost the top third in their jungler for it.
Yeah, not a very flashy play, but still solid from Supernova. Sir Celery getting chunked as Project Panda is trying his best to do the consistent damage that his team desperately needs. Good ulti, but it doesn't quite break the Guardian Angel. Sung Tongs can simply walk away from pretty much any number of enemy team members. Stun onto Ednog. He doesn't have quite the same luxury. Now the push starts onto this inhibitor turret.
They do manage to clear most of the wave. It's pretty good. All things
think-
considered, they were 4v5 there, so it could have been a lot worse.
I think now that Baron buff has been downed and it's no longer a threat for Supernova Zero to sneak a Baron or something like that, Supernova should just head bottom lane and go for that open inhibitor. Not only that, but they're stopping a slow push that the enemy team had going, so it just makes so much sense to go to this bottom side of the map.
Absolutely. They get that open inhibitor, they can go anywhere they want, and that pressure from the bot side, let them get 3 turrets that way.
I have to assume that Supernova Zero know this push is coming, though. You know, that's part of the reason why they're looking to get vision on this side of the jungle, looking to take these buffs and camps away so that they aren't stolen, and back out as quickly as they can. They could get caught on the way out here, though. It looks like they're okay.
On the item department, we're seeing Ednog going for that locket, so that's going to give him some more magic resistance. He already has the Spear Vintage and a Guardian Angel.
And now it's Supernova shoving up the mid.
And Kyle has that Infinity Edge now, so that's going to give him some decent chunk of additional damage.
Oh, pardon me, bottom mid. Apparently I'm blind.
You do a great job casting as a blind man.
Well, thank you. I try. It's been a long time of arduous practice, but I do try. All right, the inhibitor is under fire. This is an easy take for Supernova. Sometimes basically just
going to die with no problem.
yeah. Now they have 2 choices. They can either look for a team fight or they can just rotate to another lane and shove that out, while Supernova Zero have to deal with the pressure bottom. Looks like they're taking option number 2.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. They're getting that wave in the middle pushed up, and we're seeing possibly Celery go for the top. There's a bit of a slow push going on in that lane up there.
Ednog is not an ideal target to throw a lot into. Good lantern. But that's just attempt number 1. They can keep going. Supernova have a lot of gas in the tank, and Sung is using a little bit of it. Diving to the back lines, double redemption coming down for both sides. Refreshing health bars in these team fights. Jhin ulti from the backside. 2 GAs have been popped so far. Keep that Guardian Angel count in the back of your head as Ezreal is eliminated. That's a really big deal for Supernova Zero. That is pretty much all their consistent damage gone. And flash forward, an answering flash from Faceless, perhaps a little preemptive. And now a second inhibitor falls.
They still have. Actually, that lie they don't have anymore.
Raccoon playing forward for the flay onto Ednog, who is missing his GA now. Still has a lot of health to work with.
He has that locket there, so he is going to be quite durable. Sometimes diving into that team.
They've just got to keep this pressure up, but maybe they should back out at this point. They've got 2 inhibitors down. They're sitting pretty with a decent gold lead of 6k, and they don't really need to push the issue here. Supernova Zero look to push the issue themselves. Arrow coming in. There's the kickback onto Kyle, exactly the target they want, and Kyle does go down. It's a great start. Kyle has left the game. That's not a good. That's not a good start.
Could be a disconnect since he was just chilling there, and
That's unfortunate.
absolutely. And Jesus Chris caught out with no mana, but he does have flash. There's a good chance he's going to be able to get away once we're unpaused here.
Yeah, could flash over the wall. He's had time. He now has time to think about it. Reconnecting Jhin is what I like to see. That's really unfortunate for Kyle if he did
Kyle's
die
like,
there
"Jesus,
just
why did you
because of
betray me? Why'd you disconnect
just
me?"
because of the disconnect. That's so unfortunate. Because he has the flash, he could maybe have flashed away from the Lee Sin kick if he had the ability to react to that. But of all the times to disconnect, I don't think that's the worst one. Baron isn't up. There are no easy turrets to take. Even if Supernova Zero get another 2 kills off of this, there's basically nothing they can do with it. And that segues nicely into a point about why they're losing this game. They've never taken really anything off of a team fight.
They win a team fight and then nothing. There's a good opportunity to toss him and take the top turrets. There's a nice big wave there, but oh my.
Jesus trying to hold on to that flash, does indeed have to burn it in the end. Scatter the weak for a multi-man stun. Laser onto Raccoon. Arrows coming around from the side. Raccoon going to sacrifice himself so that his teammates may get out.
With that karma sequence, there's almost no way Jesus Christ can get out of here.
Oh, he did land a great scatter the weak, but as you said, the speed boost a bit too much to run away from. And it's a shutdown over to the victor. I don't think Sung Tong is going to be easy to chase. I like the way you think, Arrow. You got spunk, kid.
That does give them a good opportunity to take this dragon, which is just spawning right now.
Oh no, Kyle.
Oh no, Kyle.
Kyle, no.
Kyle, you need to pray harder.
You guys killed Kyle.
Poor Kyle. He's just having such a hard time here. That being said, Supernova still is in a position to have a pretty strong victory here. They're going to lose that top turret to that minion wave, it looks like. But once Kyle's connection is not so crappy, they can just go top wave and push hard. Because they have 2 open inhibitors. And it's almost certainly going to be a victory for them.
Yeah, I don't really see any other way around it.
They're going to lose this dragon here. That's going to give some additional advantage to Supernova Zero, but...
I mean, there are ways back into the game still for Zero. I've seen comebacks at this point before, but I see them very, very infrequently. And frankly, Supernova Zero have just not played quite as cleanly. And it's been really close, like very close in a lot of ways, but always just a little bit on edge towards Supernova's main roster instead of Zero.
It's a bit of what we saw last game with Kinesis. They were keeping up, but they were always just slightly behind.
Yeah.
So
it's an element you see pretty often in the amateur scene because there's a large scale of teams, particularly in an organization like Reverie, which opens its doors to a lot of different teams. And occasionally you'll see teams that just have figured out one thing better than all the others. And so they play almost the same League of Legends, but then they get a little bit of an advantage because they're just better at map control. They get a little bit of an advantage because their laning phase always works out well. Something along those lines. But Supernova Zero will likely get a Elder Drake here. Elise is rushing out of the base as quickly as possible, but this thing's already down to half health.
it's almost another way that you will be able to make that is going to give Supernova Zero a bit of a liver moment there.
Yeah. Elder Drake will help them win the next team fight, provided there is another team fight.
Very curious to see what they buy here, because this will be their back after the nice clean catch up there.
Well, tanky items for the tanks, damage items for the damage dealers. Nothing too terribly surprising so far.
The Void Staff is going to give Platypus a bit of additional damage on dealing with Sun Tongs and the burst that are on the squishier.
I imagine it's Death Cap for him here. Zhonya's could have been a good option as well, given how much focus there is from Supernova towards him, and the fact that there's a Syndra on the enemy team. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I like Zhonya's here. But Death Cap is going to be huge burst to be able to get rid of Kyle or get rid of Sir Celery's, to focusing more on that part of the team fight, on his job as a semi-assassin of sorts.
And now we see both markers have purchased their armor penetration, which is going to help them do their job much better.
Yes, for sure. Baron will be back with us, though, in just over 30 seconds, and that will be the catalyst for the end of this game, potentially. If Supernova can claim another Baron, I don't know if Supernova Zero have anything left in them to contest it.
Absolutely. Let's see if Arrow can have another steal like he had in the last match. Unfortunately, this last Baron, he was not even close enough to get over the wall to steal it.
We are primed and ready for a team fight, though. Every single cooldown is available. Items, summoner spells, ultimates, everything is up, and these teams just need a catalyst, some reason to explode off against one another. Baron is a good enough reason.
Seeing Zero trying to keep that mid wave pushed up, but their bottom wave is going to be getting a lot of pressure very soon. There's a bit of ping going down from Supernova. They know the wave knows he's going to go back. There's curtain call.
Yep. And Supernova Zero sort of have to take this Baron now because they've got those two waves shoving in. They have to just make something happen really, really quickly, as we've got the engagement. Raccoon up at the front lines. Great ulti. Project Panda doing some really good damage. Sungtong's going to get melted. It's a killing spree. As the Syndra falls, they do have to send somebody back to deal with the turrets. They've got a teleporting Nautilus going in to deal with those super minions shoving in, so they'll save their Nexus turrets as well. That is almost as perfect as it gets for Supernova Zero. Flash forward from Platypus. He's chasing for more. I feel like that might have been an overextension, but that was as good as it gets.
Absolutely. Elder Drake really kind of pulling through them and giving a lot of additional stats and damage. And they're most certainly going to get Baron here. I can't imagine them not getting it.
Yeah, they get Baron, they get multiple kills, they hold off the shove onto their Nexus turret. Admittedly, it goes dangerously low, but that will regen over time.
And
And Supernova Zero, there's still a window back into this game. It creaks open a little bit further. On the other side, there's brightness and happiness and light.
And there's cookies
Fields.
and puppies and flowers. Yeah.
But right now, they're stuck in a very dark room.
There's just
It's
a window
hard to find
opened, and they just can't quite squeeze through it just yet.
Metaphorical casting. It's more poetic that way.
Absolutely. Sometimes I'm going to clear out some of that vision. Unfortunately, they didn't lose the Baron, but they're still in a pretty good spot. But we'll have to see if they can win this next team fight, because they lost that one pretty handedly.
A lot of weight off of the shoulders for Supernova Zero, though, as both inhibitors respawn. And that frees them up to actually make use of this Baron buff. That timing could not have been more serendipitous.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of six-sided being finished here. Arrow has a big jump to deal with engaging a bit better.
Still going to be a little tough to shove in onto these inhibitor turrets. If they get an inhibitor down, then Supernova Zero are back to almost even footing in this game. To even footing, actually. I'll just say it. Like, they've done so very well over the last 4 or 5 minutes. They need only one more major success to be a real contender in this match, but Faceless going down is not a great start to this fight. Ednog still tanking up for his team. Celery almost falling. He still has that GA, as does Sungtong. No, Sungtong's actually didn't have his. It was popped in the last fight. The tank is gone. Ednog over the wall has his, though. And Project Panda is just so very confident in this fight. And realistically so as well. He might get this kill onto Kyle. He finishes it. This is GG.
That is most certainly going to be game Super Zero. He's going to take first place. There's the inhibitor. Ednog is missing quite a bit of his health, but he's tanked these turrets easily.
There's nothing Celery can do about this. He's just going to get eaten. People don't even like to eat celery. Oh man, both the Nexus turrets down. The Nexus will follow in short order. And as I said, whoever wins, Supernova loses.
That is going to be Super Zero taking first place in a brilliantly played game. They were in a rough spot, but they managed to make a nice recovery.
They flipped a switch towards the end of that game. Seriously, they played like to a new level in the last like 3 or 4 team fights of that match. So really well done to them. And well done to both teams, honestly, to Supernova as an organization.
Absolutely. They had a nice catch onto Faceless, but unfortunately, they just ate a ton of AoE damage and just quickly went down after that. Why am I still quiet? I'll have to try and fix that later. Sorry, folks. Thought I doubled.
Yeah. Audio balancing is such a tricky devil, but hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed for the next week's tournament. If you enjoyed what you were watching, segues are cool. Come on down and press that follow button. Why not? You know, and come along and join us for Reverie Rift Cup Qualifier number 3, which will be happening in just a week next Saturday. And then later in the month, the actual Reverie Rift Cup will be going down, which all these people are qualifying for. And if you want to see that action, then you know where the follow button is. You can click it. I believe in you.
Absolutely. So on that note, is going to be first place is Supernova Zero, second place is Supernova, third place goes to Kinesis Esports, who we watched in the first game, and Supernova Promethean, I thought it was Prometheus. Promethean is going to be in 4th place. So all those teams get some points to move into the qualifiers, or from the qualifiers to move into our cup at the end of the month.
And I would just like to announce one minor thing. During these games, our administrator, Williaf, did do a little bit of a raffle drawing. And if you're listening, General Walmart from Team Junior Bot, you are the winner of the giveaway. Make sure to get in touch with Williaf on the Reverie Discord to claim your prize. The giveaway will be announced when the finals go on the next week's stream. So do tune in if you want to be involved in that.
Absolutely. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and end the evening. Just going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Some of you who may have noticed when we were on our little bit of commercial breaks, we had, take a look here, it was Deco Naturally, who are providing the prize as well for the end of the month. They make nice shirts, basically. They're a very nice shirt company. I actually have a couple of shirts, and we're always happy to talk to them about that. And we also have Battlefy, which is the website we use to run our websites, or sorry, run our brackets, I should say. So if you played in the tournament, naturally you know Battlefy. The last I'm sorry, not last. We also have a Vibi, which is the website we use to basically create our excuse me, English is hard. Highlight reels. And then last but certainly not least is a LOL history app. So you just have a phone application for Android and iPhone, and it's a summoner lookup tool. So basically functions like lolking or na.opp.gg. And that is going to be it, folks. Hopefully we can see you guys next week. And that's going to be it. Good night.